Welcome to the state of the fractional technology industry in 2026. Insights from Galson Research and Malloy Industries. I am one of your hosts, Christopher Richardson, along with Mike Malloy.
Hey, I'm Mike Malloy, founder of Malloy Industries. We're a fractional executive matchmaking company. We served over 150 companies and built a network of over 600 relentlessly generous fractional executives. My job every day is to sit at the intersection of what founders need and what fractional leaders deliver. So I see both sides of every gap that Christopher's research has uncovered.
So, today's agenda, we're going to talk about the 2026 fractional technology leader landscape. We're going to talk about some of the challenges facing fractional technology leaders, some opportunities in the market, what clients actually want. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Malloy Industries process, if you are interested in joining a fantastic network of leaders. The invisible catalyst assessment, that is the assessment tied to a beautiful report that we'll talk about during our conversation. And then your next steps. So, why should you listen to us? Well, Galson Research has conducted the first of its kind comprehensive study of over 500 fractional technology leaders to define and uncover the challenges and opportunities in the landscape in 2026. And Malloy Industries is one of the premier fractional executive firms in the country.
And I'm happy to kind of highlight what a fractional technology leader is. And this definition comes from the Fractional Leadership Alliance, which is a global nonprofit kind of governing body overseeing all things fractional on planet Earth. A fractional leader, they are an ongoing part-time embedded member of the team that they're working with. They're not a consultant. They're in the core team. They will typically get a company email address. They'll attend internal and external meetings as needed, and it's designed to be long term, where client wants to receive 100% of the output they need for a fraction of the cost of a full time executive.
So, Galson Research has defined a fractional technology leader as a seasoned technologist providing technology services to small and medium businesses on a part time basis. And this may come in the form of project work, part time work, or fixed contract work. What you will find between both definitions is that they are tied to executive level strategy on a flexible engagement model. Now, let's talk a little bit about the fractional technology market in 2026. LinkedIn profiles mentioning the term fractional have grown 300% since 2020, indicating a steepening supply curve and influx of executives into the model. Fractional leadership roles have seen a massive increase of 116% in 3 years. Fractional technology leader roles rose roughly 67% as firms push digital transformation, cybersecurity, modernization, infrastructure upgrades, and AI initiatives. And Deloitte Human Capital suggests that 40% of executives have considered portfolio style careers, making fractional work a mainstream consideration rather than fringe. So, what does that really mean? Demand is strong, but supply has expanded even faster. So, the actual projected size of the fractional technology leader market in 2026 is between 8,000 and 10,000 currently and growing. So, compared to other fractional roles such as fractional CMO or fractional HR strategist, it's lower, but it is growing as people are seeing the value in the space. Some of the common titles: fractional CTO, CIO, CISO, Chief Data Officer, Chief AI Officer in variants. And more importantly, what's not considered a fractional technology leader? Well, technology advisors and technology consultants. Remember, when Mike mentioned what a fractional executive was, it is a long term proposition where consultants and advisors typically have project based work, so it's shorter term. Some of the industries that are supported by fractional technology leaders include technology startups, SaaS companies, private equity and venture capital, retail, professional services, supply chain, hospitality companies, and construction companies. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers 2023 Global Private Equity Survey, 62% of private equity firms deploy interim or project based executives into portfolio companies. This is critical information. If you are looking for opportunities, think private equity, because think about the portfolio, right? You're not just working with one company, you're working across a variety of companies to get value. So it could be, if you're not thinking about it, it could be one to think about, but you have to be ready for it. So we're going to talk a little bit about readiness. The compensation model, Mike, take it away.
Yeah, the average hourly rate take home ranges from about 150 to $500 an hour, and I strongly encourage fractional executives to base the compensation on a monthly retainer. And I like to have people make the joke, hey, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to bill you in 6-minute increments. It's much more about what is the value being delivered? How can that impact the business? And there's a saying that, small hinges swing big doors. There are changes that you as a fractional technology leader can make that can have a huge impact on large and growing businesses. If companies doing $10,000 a year in revenue, it's kind of hard to make a $100,000 impact. But if they're doing 10 million, 50 million, $100 million in revenue, you can come in as that fractional technology leader and really have a huge impact on the top line and bottom line for the business, which can justify a monthly retainer somewhere in the 5 to 25K a month. We find that 10 to 15K is kind of a good sweet spot, but if you anchor up to 25K a month, they feel better coming in the bottom half of that range. Is just how we like to think about pricing with the clients we're working with.
And now we'll hear from Mike again. Just talk a little bit about the Malloy Industries perspective on what we've gone over so far.
Christopher, I think you highlighted a lot of great stats and that the research has shown. And I've been in the fractional executive matchmaking business for about 5 years since COVID. And just for some context, I got my master's in computer science. I was a Deloitte consultant. I used to make snazzy PowerPoints and say, "Hey, pay us $100,000 or whatever." It's a different world now, and I believe that anybody who has 10, 20, 30 years of career experience can be a phenomenal value add organization that doesn't necessarily want to make the full-time commitment, either because they don't have the full budget, or somebody left and they need to fill that spot and they need to do it quickly, and it might take 6 months to hire a new CTO, but they can't have nobody leading the organization on technology in the interim, or because they just raised some money, or they're going out to raise their next round of funding, or maybe they were just bought by private equity, or a PE firm wants to polish it up and get ready to sell it within the next 12 months. We've had a couple clients that are preparing for an exit. They've had a lot of people doing different work in the technology department, but being able to prepare the organization for M&A due diligence process is one place that we've seen fractional technology leaders add a lot of value, especially if they're interested in joining before the transaction and sticking around afterwards as well. And to another one of Christopher's points, demand is growing, supply is really growing. We have grown from what started 5 years ago with like 10 of my friends as fractional executives to now over 600 in our network, and every month we're adding more people to our community in hopes that we can find opportunities to match them with the business opportunities that we specialize in, doing the business development, finding the projects, and then being able to match with the best executive in our network.
So now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the challenges facing fractional technology leaders.
Chris, I'm gonna cut you off and just dive in. The first one is the biggest, man. There is a educational marketing process that all of us need to work on together to educate future customers about how to work with fractional executives. What does it mean? What are the expectations on communication? Am I just getting a fraction of their attention? And I'll say this quote again: you get 100% of the output for a fraction of the cost of a full-time executive. I think that makes a big difference. there's also these like 5 stages of the modern customer journey, from problem unaware. If somebody's not aware they have a problem, they're not going to do anything about it, to problem aware. Okay, I know I got this problem. To solution aware. Okay, I've like heard of Fractional. I think maybe that could help. To then product aware. Okay, they know, Galson, Malloy Industries, that you, the audience, exists. To most aware. Okay, make me an offer. And where we need to help move the market is from the problem aware to solution aware, and making sure that when people are looking to solve problems, they're not just thinking, oh, I need to hire somebody full time. It's going to cost me $300,000 with salary and benefits and all this overhead. And do I need them in the office or not? Like, all of our fractionals are remote. I don't think, especially in the technology department, you need to be in person. So I think that's the biggest one. The second one here about the economic buyer, the CFO is very important. I sent a contract earlier this week to the CEO saying, hey, here's everything looks good. He's like, cool, I think we're good, but I got to wait for my CFO to review it and make sure that like I get the go ahead to spend this money. And I've been working with the CEO for 3 months. Like, I think we should hopefully be aligned there. And as a technology leader, you may or may not be a veteran salesperson, or very confident in navigating that process. And I encourage you early on in the discovery kind of scoping phase. Ideally, you can be with the CEO, who's the executive, making the decision. But in each meeting, try to pull out like, hey, who else is involved in the decision-making process? And when could I meet with them as well? So you don't have like a saboteur coming in at the last minute being like, oh no, we're not paying for this because I don't know what the value is and I don't see the ROI in the income statement, whatever. I think that's important. And then in Chris, I'll let you talk about the kind of limited sales and marketing infrastructure.
Yeah. So one of the challenges that we see that is most fractionals don't have a sales and marketing system. They're not positioning themselves as fractional leaders that in a way that provides value to the prospect or to the company that you're interested in working for. You're maybe highlighting that you have years of experience, but you're not talking about the true value to the organization if they were to engage you. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, the other thing I want to add on that too is that you probably don't have an active CRM the way like in HubSpot. I think we have like 1,200 deals we've worked through the pipeline, and like we have a repeatable process and certain follow up sequences, and um, you know even simple emails to like follow up 2 weeks later if you haven't heard from them. Hey Chris, are you still interested in solving that problem we talked about and getting that outcome? And then follow up a week or two later and just be like, hey, have you decided to go in a different direction for solving the problem we talked about earlier this year? Those little nudge emails, they're not rocket science, but you need things to move deals forward. And I'd also encourage you to like block time on your calendar each week for doing business development, for following up with things, for asking for referrals, for going to a networking event. You got to plant seeds in the spring to harvest them in the fall.
That's right. No, that is perfectly stated. One of the key challenges that we see with good fractional technology leaders is an over reliance on referrals. Referrals will get you started. Referrals oftentimes won't maintain you if you haven't done the right positioning work, if you haven't done the right client retention work and the right engagement work. You want people to be proud and excited, but also a little sad to refer you because they know that they won't get all of your time. You can be in that position, but it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes a system of understanding value, disseminating value, and being consistent, being disciplined. And what I've found is that sometimes you're so worried about the work, you're not worried about how you're positioned with your prospects. So um, this has been a powerful moment. Let's hear from you a little bit about what you're seeing in candidates in terms of readiness, just so that we can kind of further baseline.
The best candidates ask a lot of questions and listen to what the client or the future client is saying, as opposed to vomiting their expertise and listing out a bunch of features of coding languages you need. You want to understand, why does this matter to the client? What's in it for them, both professionally? What's kind of the mandate, the objective, key result, the North Star that the company is working towards, but also for that individual stakeholder who perhaps is going to make the hiring decision. what are their personal goals within the organization that they're held responsible to? How do they look good to their boss, or if they're the CEO, how do they look good to their board or investors? It's also helpful in that discovery and kind of qualifying process to understand, why does this matter to them personally? Like, maybe they're currently working 80-hour weeks because they've got to do all the stuff that they want you to do, and they can't coach little Johnny's soccer team, or they're never able to take their wife or husband out on a date, because they're working too much. Like, those are things that you can come back to later on in the process. I will also say that the best candidates are pretty good storytellers, and not just like, let me read this case study of the thing that I did and here it is, but get a little bit of charisma, I would say, in there, and also recognizing that the person listening to the story is trying to understand, well, what's in it for me? And like, if you were to do that for me, how does that solve my problem? And so there's a simple framework. It's called the STAR framework. And this is good for any interview when someone's like, hey, tell me about a time when you were faced with adversity and overcame it. So the STAR stands for situation, some background context, the task, what it is that you had to do, what actions you took, and then so what were the results as a result of working with you? And that so what kind of result transformation, that's what you want the future client to visualize, like, oh, wow, they could do that for me. And, they could solve this problem that I know I have. And they also could solve this other problem that, like, I either wasn't aware or I hadn't even shared, but like, that is a thing that's hard for me too. Those are ways to kind of position yourself as the best candidate. And it also helps to understand the impact the work can have, and like, how does that financially impact the business? Are they able to sell more? Are they able to like save money on burning AWS credits and spending $100,000 a month when they should be spending 20K, but it's just the architecture isn't properly set up. So I think those are a few that are really important. And I would also add perhaps that communication is key. Like, before, during, and even after closing the sale, like how well you communicate proactively, that makes a big difference, especially in the kind of fractional technology leadership role, not just as an individual contributor.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at a couple of other challenges that we uncovered in the Invisible Catalyst report, which is available for download, and we'll get you a link at the end of the webinar. Challenge number one is scope creep. So I know you've all experienced it, where you're being paid for one thing and they say, hey, can you do just a little bit more for me? Scope creep is one of the biggest challenges, but it's also something that, if you're keenly aware of it, that you can prevent through good policy and just being in constant communication with your client. So we have ways to work through it, but it is a humongous problem, right? Next is balancing multiple clients, right? So the goal, and Michael, I want you to talk about this a little bit. The goal is to have multiple clients, but not so many that you're overwhelmed.
For sure. And as the CEO of Malloy Industries, like, we have dozens of clients at this point. So like, I am not in the weeds and all of the things, and I'm not doing the client service delivery to the extent that most of the audience is. That being said, it's all about expectations. Simple formula for life: happiness equals reality minus expectations. This also works in your marriage, by the way, and with your children. You lower the expectation, you increase the likelihood of happiness. All right. That being said, with clients, set expectations on your communication availability. What are the preferred channels? I just sent a client a contract last night, and it was like, we're going to have 2 meetings a month. We'll be available for 4 hours, kind of async in between those meetings. And if you email us, we'll respond within 48 hours. And if you call us or text us or send a voice note, we'll respond within 24 hours. You can make up what it could be: 4 hours, it could be 48, it could be 72, but put it in the contract. Talk about it on the front end. Be clear that, hey, I'm going to be fully focused on you on Mondays, and we're going to meet every Monday from 2 to 3, and I will run the meeting and we'll be set up. And if you have a client that you do that with on Tuesdays, tell them, Tuesdays I'm out of pocket. Like, I can see the notifications, but I won't be able to respond until Wednesday. Okay, you set that expectation. The other thing that I think is really helpful with the expectation setting is just, and especially if you're a computer science guy, like, it's an acknowledgement. Like, think about when you send packets, like, you send the ACK back saying, I got the message. All right. Something we have in our company, we run our whole team through Slack. And whenever somebody sends a message that requires somebody else to do something, and a lot of it is me giving stuff to their team, they hit it with the little bullseye, the dart. And that tells me cognitively it has been acknowledged. I can release it. I don't have to think about it. And then when they finish it, they come back and they change the little bullseye to a green check, and I know it's done. That, like, however you want to define that cadence, that syntax, if you will, that goes so far in helping with that communication and balancing the multiple clients. The other thing that we do have all our fractionals do, and by the way, I didn't start this 5 years ago. I started this like a year and a half ago because I had an issue because communication was pretty poor, and the client was like, "Ma, the meatloaf, like, what are they doing back there?" I had no idea what was going on. We have all of our fractionals create a TPS report, which is a weekly, it's both an office space joke as well as a trust building progress snapshot that says, here's what I did last week. Here's my priorities for this week. Here are the meetings I have this week. And hey, client, here's where I'm stuck, and I need you to review this deliverable, give me access to this data set, and here's my upcoming availability, both the ranges of which I'm generally available. It doesn't mean I'm working all of those times, Monday through Friday this week. And if you're taking time off in 2 weeks for your wedding anniversary or next month for your dad's 80th birthday or whatever it is, put that in there and you just send it to them every Monday or every Friday or every Tuesday. Like, figure out a cadence that works, but then it's predictable communication so the client expects it and isn't like pestering you with random one-off things because they know, okay, I'm going to get this update then, and I know I can like have a running Google Doc agenda that I can put ideas or questions into. So when we meet next week, we have a structured process to efficiently go through them. And that, as a technologist, you're not context switching all day, every day between three different clients. You're able to have a lot more maker time, deep work focus, and less manager time, kind of flitting between meetings and different projects.
Couldn't say it better myself. Challenge number 3: integration with internal teams. So 63% on average are experiencing challenges integrating with internal teams. I like to say that people challenges can be overcome if you understand the people. So instead of going in saying, "Well, I'm the CTO," you have to listen to me. You have to kind of get to know these people and get to learn the teams before you can manage the teams. It seems so obvious, but at 63%, there's room for improvement and good opportunities to increase and improve that. So something to keep in mind as you go through your fractional technology leader journey. Now, let's kind of shift a little bit to opportunities for fractional technology leaders. So, where fractional technology leaders can win is one, targeting the CFO and the CEO with business outcomes language. Do not talk tech to people who don't understand tech. You are not going to get a good result, right? You understand the connection between technology and business outcomes, or you wouldn't be in these roles. But simplifying it to how does it affect the CFO in a positive way can bring you so much good, just good fortune when it comes time for renewals, when it comes time for growth opportunities. They're going to remember that I can talk to the tech guy about money driven outcomes and get an answer that I can then either report up to senior leadership or to boards. And that really matters, right? Next is niche differentiation, right? Just saying I am the guy or gal who does this for this set of people with this intentional set of outcomes can really help you from a positioning standpoint to separate yourself from the other 8 to 10,000 folks who are also competing in this space. Um, think about the companies that you've worked for that you did your best work and become that go-to person in that sector. You can even niche down a little bit further. In this example, is law firms on the East Coast that are less than 250 employees. It could be that you're just in the Washington, D.C. region, or the Baltimore area region, or the Richmond region, or the Philadelphia region. And why would you have advantage doing that? Well, if someone is doing Google searches and you position yourself correctly, you're going to show up, right? If you have a network within a certain region, it's a lot easier to go make in person calls to these offices and have those conversations than it is for you to kind of be expanded out. So just something to think about. Next is building trust through a transparent process.
I want to highlight like this is exactly why the work that Galson is doing with their strategic impact program matters. You know, your 4-week curriculum directly addresses the gaps that you found in the research with executive presence, or sales messaging to the economic buyers, the business development systems, and those client retention strategies. All of that ties into transparent communication, and this connects to the TPS report that I was just talking about. You know, I think your program helps fractional leaders be significantly more competitive and differentiated from who else a future client finds on LinkedIn or trying to Google their or Chat GPT their way to victory.
The one thing that the strategic impact program does better than any other training program is it segments people who are doers from people who are ambitious to become doers. Now, what does that mean in real world kind of language? It means that in order to join that program, you have to be a seasoned professional that's already kind of providing value. You have to be able to work with clients and have the skill set necessary. What strategic impact does is it makes you best of breed, right? So there's a process that my colleagues will put prospects through just to make sure that you're being paired up with people who are best of breed, who are ambitious to be at that high level and are not just starting out. This is not a that's not a program for people just starting out. There are programs available for people who are starting out. That's not one of them. That one is for people who are ready to go from where they are to their highest potential. But we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Last one, I just want to touch on this, and Mike, I want you to touch on this as well, is developing scalable systems. You talked about the CRM, and you live and die by data in this, right? Talk a little bit about the importance of a solopreneur, which is essentially what a fractional is. Talk a little bit about the power of scalable systems.
So one of my first business coaches, like 15 years ago, Steve Hyman, rest in peace, taught me that systems beat genius. You are probably a very, very smart person cognitively, but you need systems that no matter what are going to repeat on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And as you think about how you want to operate things, and especially in the age of AI, like one of our fractional technology leaders, she has AI join her meetings. And I gotta be honest, I don't really know what she does underneath the surface, but after every meeting, she gives a very thorough recap email that AI generates, summarizes what we talked about. Here are the next steps, and then has a little disclaimer and is like, if anything silly was in this, like blame the AI, which is playful and part of our culture. But like figure out ways to automate and delegate and like systematize the things that you don't want to have to do repeatedly. It's that simple.
Let's move on to what makes a placement ready fractional technology leader.
Yeah, and I think some of this we've talked about earlier, but it's how you present yourself, it's your communication, it's understanding the priorities of the economic buyer, and there may be multiple priorities throughout the organization. And as you have multiple meetings with people, try to understand why is this important to them. Like, hey, if we're one of my favorite lines is like, hey, if we're sitting down, we're having a drink 6 months from now because this project is wildly successful. Like, what are we celebrating? What makes this a win for you? What's that dream outcome you want to achieve? And then the flip side I ask after that is often like, well, what's the most expensive problem to solve? And I love the word expensive problem because that implies that there is budget to solve a problem. It's not just like, it'd be nice to have another Hawaiian shirt. Like, I got a whole closet full of them. And then there are a few different vectors of value that you can deliver to clients. Speed is by far the number one most important vector of value. And the faster you can get them some sort of aha or result to realize like, hey, this is working. I'm glad I made this decision. And it can't be 3 months. And honestly, it shouldn't even be 1 month. Like within the first week, like do the things that make them confident that they made a right decision. And be clear on like, what is your 30, 60, 90-day plan? What do you need to hit to achieve those things? And as soon as you realize something is going to get delayed, communicate it. Don't sweep it under the rug for like a week or two. Proactively say it and then reset the expectation on when it's going to be done. And don't reset it for like 5 days later. Reset it for like 3 weeks later or a month and a half later, and then pleasantly surprise them that you came in under the second time, as opposed to asking 3, 4, 5 times, and then you're just the guy who like never hits his deadlines and has to keep asking for more time and is like really frustrating. And every behavior you take either builds trust or erodes trust. And when you erode trust, you have to go build the positive trust like 5 times to get back that thing you just lost. And the best way to build that trust too is to talk about the business impact and how it saves time, makes money, cuts costs, makes it better for the next investment round or more likely to exit. I think all of those are really important.
Now let's take a little look at some of the data behind the client needs. 94% of CFOs are managing multiple departments, almost certainly IT, and they don't understand IT. So they need you to be the whisperer, the technology whisperer, so that they could drive further business impact, right? 60% of focus is on tech investment. In the age of AI, money is being spent on technology, and they need someone to shepherd it the right way. 75% of are responsible for data and analytics. So if you understand data and how data can lead to value, you are going to be someone that is invaluable to them. And then 25% of SMBs are cutting tech budgets. So what that means is that if you can come in and you have relationships with MSPs and MSSPs and vendors, you can negotiate budgets. You can help the CFO to craft the necessary means to get what they want to get accomplished. What you will often find is that when a CFO does not have a technology advisor on a full time basis, they overpay for licenses by a dramatic amount. They overpay on contracts because they don't know any better. So, going back to what Mike said about value, if you want to make an immediate impact, start looking at license counts. License counts can be the thing that gives you that attaboy that you need to start the momentum to get an engagement going in the right direction. So, sometimes it's just as simple as find out what the CFO knows and help them to shepherd the program forward. And if you do that, you're going to be really, really good. Now, let's talk about the Malloy Industries fractional retention process.
Absolutely, Christopher. And to build on your research, which showed that most fractional engagements, they fail quietly. It's not some like dramatic blow up in your face, but gradually as weeks pass without a clear picture of what's been accomplished, they start to think, maybe this is a thing that I could cut because I'm not really seeing where the value's at. And we believe in something called revenue architecture, which kind of has a bow tie model for sales, where the left side of the bow tie is the traditional sales process. The knot here is when you get the mutual commit and you start the project. And then on the right side, there's onboarding, and then there's retention and expansion. And it's kind of a flywheel there. And it's really important that you have and we talked earlier that systems beat genius, that you have a standardized system for how to measure and report the value you've delivered to increase the likelihood of retaining the client, to have an opportunity to ask for referrals. Because, by the way, when clients are at the highest point of motivation, that's when you ask for the referral, the testimony, the case study. When they're at the lowest point of deprivation and in pain, that's when you ask for the sale, kind of earlier on. And part of our retention system involves monthly check-ins. So we have a client service manager that we allocate to every client with Fractional Executive. They do a 30-minute check-in every month with both sides to understand what's working well, what should we do more of, less of, start doing, stop doing. And then every quarter, I personally lead a strategic business review with each client to assess whether we should renew, adjust, where else we might help them. And I highly, highly recommend that you schedule these quarterly strategic business reviews, and don't just wait till the 3 months into the engagement. Like, do one week 2. Like they started working with you, show them that you're not just in the business, you can work on it. And the core question to ask is, what are the 5 things that must happen in the next 365 days for you to feel more pride, confidence, and excitement in your business? And then by when? And you ask for 5, not 3, because they might know that first 2 or 3, but you really want them to think about the 4th and the 5th, and then see how can you as a technology leader in the organization help them achieve those. Another thing that we do as a leadership safety net is we actually offer a lifetime guarantee for our clients when we match them with a fractional executive. If they're not a good fit for any reason, and by the way, the reason is almost always communication or like interpersonal conflict, it's not that they don't know how to do the technology piece, then we'll step in, we'll understand why, and we'll replace them for free. And that's a big differentiator for us, and part of our value prop, and why clients love working with us. Your clients aren't going to churn because of our clients don't churn because of the ambiguity. Like, they know what's going on, they're getting the TPS report, we're checking in frequently, and we're able to get yellow flags that somebody's not happy or concerned about something, so we can fix it before they just email and say, we are terminating this contract in 30 days.
Brilliant. And it's one of the reasons why we love to partner and refer to Malloy Industries, because most of the fractional hiring organizations are not going to take that level of care on the client side or on the fractional technology leader side. It's important to have good relationships, and Malloy Industries is based on relationships. So if you do good work, you get good opportunities, and that is the way that it should be. So we're always happy to informally and formally endorse Malloy Industries and the work that they're doing. So just to wrap up, we're offering a copy complimentary of the Invisible Catalyst report. It is 40 pages, 3 sub reports that go over the challenges and opportunities that fractional technology leaders are facing. 500 of your colleagues have, if you're a fractional technology leader, have participated in this report. So this is data from your contemporaries about the challenges and opportunities. There's an assessment at the end of the report. It's a self-reflective assessment that you should take, even if you think you're already best of breed. There are some opportunities to improve where you currently are and become best of breed. And that assessment, maybe
Chris, I'm going to cut you off and say that I guarantee the people who are best of breed are going to take the assessment because they got to that point because they're relentlessly curious about how do they get better, and they grow, and they're not cocky thinking that they know everything. So I highly recommend everybody watching this that you go there, galson.com/assessment, because it will help you grow. It will help you be a better individual, and add more value to your clients as you better understand your strengths and where you can continue to develop.
That's right. That's right. One last point. We mentioned strategic impact as a program. To be completely honest with you, if you're ready for strategic impact, you're going to find it. And the first step is having a conversation with someone from Galson Research. We have a couple folks on LinkedIn. Seek us out, have the conversation, and see if you're a good fit for strategic impact. If you're ready to make that best of breed move, you'll find it and you'll be ready for it. And it's something that we don't advertise. We don't advertise it. So it's cohort based. It's dynamic. You're paired with your contemporaries. And one thing I do want to mention about it is that if you are in a particular vertical, you will not have another person in your vertical. So it's you. If you are the go-to in the legal space for that cohort, you're the go-to in the legal space. So it gives you a great opportunity to learn and experience the strategic impact difference with others in a safe environment. It's a great program, but again, seek it out. Seek it out. I want to thank Mike Malloy, CEO of Malloy Industries, for what I think is one of the best webinar presentations that has been given this year. Now, yeah, it's only March, but I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty.
Well, it's a lot of fun, Chris. I love working with you. I love the work you're doing, and anything I can do to help the global fractional community as people are, realizing this is the future of work. Like, I'm all in. This is where the world is going, and if you're a fractional executive, you're looking for help on the business development side, would love to invite you to join our community. It is free to join because I also promise you absolutely no work, but we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of resources, coaching to help. And when we do have opportunities, if you go to, MalloyIndustries.com/apply, you can learn all about how we welcome new fractional executives and come to one of our upcoming monthly roundtables to explore collaborations.
Thank you so much for attending this webinar. The next webinar from Galveston Research is Building Trust and Value for Fractional Technology Leaders and MSPs and MSSPs. If you are a fractional technology leader, you need to be on the lookout for it. If you're an MSP, you need to be on the lookout for it. And if you're a small or medium business, you will understand the triangulation effect that comes from building trust and value with fractional technology leaders and MSPs. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.